All right, what's up, my friends? Dan Tom here from MMA Junkie, linemovement.com. And this will be on, of course, my show, the Protect Your Neck podcast on my YouTube channel. Give it a like and a subscribe if you're here. I'm going to wait for people to pile in as I do my obligatory walk and talk and share. I don't do these live things enough, so I felt like I kind of owed you guys. Plus, wanted to get some mileage out of this very expensive, as you can see, Fight Island backdrop. I'm going to tweet the live link. You guys can, as per usual, put your comments and questions in the chat here or there. I don't know what it is. It's too late for me, and I'll get to you as Muna and Brad and some familiars already piling, which is good to see. It was a good night. Don't want to bury the lead, but speaking of Brad who just popped in here, I saw a tweet before I popped on here saying, it was a good night. Hopefully you cashed some bets as he did, or I, or hopefully my listeners did. But more importantly, our favorites really didn't get hurt, which we'll touch on as we go through the whole card, as per usual on this podcast from top to bottom. And yeah, you got to enjoy the finer things, the silver linings in life or in MMA, even if MMA really only affords you, not complete sadness is a silver lining. I'll take it. So I'm going to tweet this link and we'll get right to it. Live now talking UFC on Fight Island 3. All right. Thank you guys for joining. All right. So we're going to go from top to bottom. Probably just going to go like 20, 30 minutes. Again, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Unless y'all take it longer, then of course I'll answer whatever you guys want. Otherwise, yeah, I'm just going to go from top to bottom. Like a semi-responsible podcast host, I got results pulled up. And a drink here as I cheers to you guys here. Woodford Reserve, some bourbon. That's good. Someone got me one of these ice ball things, and usually I was like one of those people. It's like, you're brutalizing the scotch or the whiskey or the bourbon, with water or ice. Although bourbon really it doesn't really hurt it when you talk to a lot of people. But yeah, no, I eased off that gas. I'm not quite super hipster or anything like that. I will put a little bit of ice in the old liquor. All right. Feel free to type in what you guys are drinking as well. Robert Whittaker defeated Darren Till in the main event. Unanimous decision, 48-47s across the board. You can tell I'm having a drink because my words aren't coming out as great. But yeah, that's kind of how I had it. I think we all agree Till took the first. He had a good, strong start. Again, he's not the strongest counter fighter in the world, but he can counter and crash. Till did with that elbow. His elbows are really underrated. Something we saw kind of developed, although, kind of his Kelvin Gastelum performance kind of muddied a lot of the good things that he was doing because it wasn't really an exciting fight, right? And then Whittaker takes 2 and 3, and I think we can all agree on that. Kind of like my dude Aaron Bronstetter said, at the very least, I think most of the scorecards agree on that. Rounds 4 and 5 is where it gets murky. You had commentary making it sound like it was a clear 3-1 for Whittaker heading into the 5th. And I think that definitely played on a lot of people because it plays on me a lot too. I'm just as culpable, even recently, not even like, years past, like, no, it happens to me too. That's why it's like one of those things you hear some people like watching with the sound off. And I try to do it as much as possible because you can get in the habit of, especially if you're, like multitasking and kind of watching footage, you may find yourself crutching and listening to commentary more than you realize. Or nights like this, it's a fight night, there was a point where we're all probably eating at some point, maybe we've got some people in the room, and that commentary, because your eyes aren't always fixated on the fight, will start kind of, coloring in and out of the lines, and you won't even really realize it because it's subconscious. So it's nothing against the commentators, but you always got to be careful about listening to commentary, especially when they're sure of what they're judging, because like most commentators from Rogan to Jimmy Smith will be like, hey, it's full disclosure, it's really hard to score a fight while you're commentating. To be honest, it's really hard to score fights in general. That's why I want to get mad, because it's like I see all these points I agree with on my timeline about judging, and I want to agree and get mad and yes, but at the same time it's like there's so many issues, and like most of them have to do with just getting competent judges in the first place before you even have a certain rule set or point system that we agree on, that it almost feels sadly pointless to argue. Not that it is pointless. We should always be working to improve, and I hope that we do. But, like there's always going to be those rounds where it borders on a 10-8 or a 10-9. Like some people were saying, like, oh, round 2 should maybe be a 10-8, especially in a close fight like this. Like, I totally agree in the spirit of that. But the problem is getting everybody on board and consistency. And I'm not going to go on a judging tangent. I don't feel like I'm someone who's qualified to per se, but I will just kind of leave it at this, which is something that I think we saw recently, or not recently, but maybe throughout Fight Island, not just bad judging or fighters that fight, close fights, and then something can happen and it'll sway the round, or a fighter will fight a certain way, to win rounds and be like, why didn't I win the round? I was controlling the round. And you'll have people go, well, good. I'm glad we didn't award stalling. I'm glad we were awarded damage. And at heart, like off those gestures, I absolutely agree about rewarding damage. And even though I'm a contrarian who had a catch wrestling coach who taught us that stalling was a skill and put us through some really freaking rigorous drills to remind us of that, at the same time, yeah, like I would rather have the guy that is scoring damage and actively looking for a finish rewarded in close fights or from an overall consensus of scoring. The problem is we've set years going back to the early mid-aughts of, and we've trended away from takedown, steal the round, right? That late takedown to steal the round. Thankfully, we've trended away, not all the time, but we still see a lot of that, right? We still see it. It's been ingrained so much that the fighters start fighting a certain way. It's almost, and I'm not going to turn this political or get serious, but it's very much like the race, unrest, especially in my country here in the United States, pointing fingers, we're pointing fingers at this group of people, and this group of people is pointing fingers, at police. And really, it's really complicated, and it actually goes back, and it goes deeper than the surface level. And not going to go down that road here. This isn't that kind of podcast, but it is kind of relevant to, like, before we start blaming fighters for fighting a certain way, really, it is the system that kind of produced this. And the system has made efforts as far as, I believe, 2016 or 2017, trying to revise judging criteria. But yeah, really, it's going to have to come down to the judges being consistent before we see any kind of consistency from the fighters. And that bleeds down to our consistency and understanding. So that ends the scoring rant. But essentially, I gave Darren Till round 4 for the hard flurry that he landed. I thought it was the most significant strikes. He landed a bunch of shots. Rob Whittaker kept a really good poker face. Hard to tell how much it affected him. And even though I wouldn't hate anybody for giving Till round 5, he just didn't do enough for me overall. And yeah, he created damage, and we should be rewarding damage, Dan. You rewarded damage for something that didn't shed blood. How are you going to reward damage for the time he does? Well, that was like one elbow, and granted, it was something that he was clearly going for and scored with in the first, but it was like a rogue elbow that cut him at a weird place in the ear. It didn't seem to damage, concuss, or get Robert Whittaker really off his game, although Herb Dean had a questionable stoppage there that broke some momentum that perhaps Darren Till could have built off of. So I don't blame anybody for getting upset with that. Perhaps we'll talk about Herb Dean here in a second. But as far as, one shot versus body of work, we went through this in other Robert Whittaker fights, right? And I was on, albeit not as confidently, it was more closer there for a lot of those rounds, but with Yoel Romero versus Whittaker, a lot of their rounds. And I'm more of a body of work guy. I'm not saying I'm right here or in general, but I'm just saying that's my biases, and I'm admitting that. So I ended up scoring the 5th round for Whittaker, making it 48-47. Sorry for that rant. Fight Site, Whittaker's work transitions was very cool. I got to go back and rewatch that, but he did seem to put a lot more work. Shout out to the fightsite.com, by the way. They do excellent work. Guy, we're going to be talking about Chimaev. They produced a really good video piece that I tried to share out. My man Philippe there. Shouts to those guys. Steve Gregory, Till 4-1. You mooks hate the Brits more than the Irish do. I don't blame anybody for thinking that I hate Till, although I do have a lot of British friends, so hopefully they don't hate me either. But then they know at least that part's not true. And I don't dislike Till. I actually like Till. Yeah, I might be on the side that's like, yeah, I don't think his, maybe the skills for the matchup the promotion gives him, but I'm not hating on Till for that. I actually, I always feel bad for fighters when they get the UFC promo machine. What? They're going to get more money and more opportunities? I know what you're saying. I guess what I mean there is that I feel bad because of just the UFC matchmaking model. It doesn't give a lot of room for growth. And whether you like these guys or not, whether they're overinflated or not, they're taking some real headshots in there. Brad Taschuk, I thought Whittaker edged 2, though. 2 through 5. The last few were all competitive. They were, yeah, again, just like I wouldn't hate anybody for giving till 4 or even 5, though I explained why I disagree. Obviously, I don't disagree with that either, Brad. Steve Gregory, Hardy did a complete 180 after seeing the strikes landed graphic. I got a theory on that, by the way. 1 second. Wonder Boy beat Till. Till did have a loud crowd behind him tonight. Till didn't have a loud crowd behind him tonight to gain an edge in close rounds with the judges. That's possible as well. That additional note also comes from Steve Gregory. But Steve, let me address something from the first. Obviously, Hardy's been having a lot of back and forth, and I'm definitely not going to defend, Dan Hardy to defend Dan Hardy here. However, I will say this in his not defense, but like I get what happened here because people were surprised and were like, "Whoa, Dan Hardy's like being overly biased for Till." For one, not coming at Hardy, I like Hardy and Gooden, but people that have been watching for a while know that they do have an English bias. And again, we all have biases. That's why I always try to admit mine readily. And certainly, it's very easy to accuse Hardy or Gooden, particularly Hardy, of that. Again, that's not a bash on Hardy. I think he's a great analyst, commentator. I like Dan. That being said, here's what happens, and I do the same thing with my analysis. If you notice, not just because, oh, I'm a nice guy or I don't want to piss somebody off, which you can accuse me of that, and that's not necessarily the right move. I have to be honest, whether you're on the reporter side or the analyst side, like me. We got to be honest, even if it hurts people's feelings. But one thing is that I will do, and I think Dan Hardy did tonight, is you overcorrect the steering wheel. We'll talk about Verdum and Gustafsson as far as the odds go and how that got overcorrected in our perspectives, right? Not everybody. Props to you, and I'm going to give some big props to those on that. But overcorrecting the steering wheel as far as our bias goes, and I think he caught himself driving heavily down the English Darren Till lane and was like, whoa, I got to be objective here. Maybe the stats, to your point, help Dan Hardy pull out of that. But I'm not defending him. I'm just saying I totally get why he would do that. Brad Taschuk, somebody needs to sit down and talk to Herb. Yeah, man, there was that separation, but worse than the separation, there were 2 bad stoppages. We're definitely going to have to talk about those. And that's another reason why I was glad when I tweeted that we didn't have to put it in the book on the main event as we push through the rest of the card here. I'm glad we didn't have to see either guy get knocked out, for one, because I like both guys, Whittaker and Till, but 2, who was reffing that one? Those guys hit hard. We didn't need to see follow-up shots 3 and 4 and, the murder of Mertzalayev, 3 and 4 produced because that already got produced number 2 tonight. So let's push on to the rest of the fights instead of portending. To the results, Mauricio Huga defeated Antonio Rogerio Nogueira. How did you guys score that one? Feel free to comment. I had it Nogueira, giving him was it round 1 and 3 at the top of my head, or was it rounds 2 and 3? I forget. But I guess I could see how Hua got the decision. This was one where I just felt like it should have gone to Nogueira, but I don't want to say I'm biased because I like both guys. I didn't bet this fight, and I picked Shogun, but I'm a huge Southpaw Little Nog fan, man. Want to see him get out on a win. And you know what? Say what you will, they put on a damn good fight for their age. They exceeded our expectations. Daniel Mays, give both guys a 100K bonus if they promise to retire. Yeah, how about that? That would be awesome. Like, I miss when old school Dana. Old school Dana used to flex by he wouldn't agree with the decision, and then he gave Diego Sanchez and Martin Kampman like 100K each in Kentucky for like a Kentucky fight night. No offense to my brothers and sisters in Kentucky. You know who you are out there. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? It didn't take a big stage, and Dana would step up to the plate and dish it out for the fighters. And this would be a time where I would love to see one of those old school Dana power moves, right? The fight site, what are you talking about? Shogun retired 10 years ago. Yes. That was essentially my logic for picking him here. It's that they're both shot, and everybody was trying to argue about who is more shot. And my argument was that Shogun had a larger sample size of fighting shot Therefore, he was more dependable as a shot fighter. I didn't score it for him, but it certainly turned out that way. Next fight result. Oh, man, my mouth's getting dry. I forgot to bring water, and all I got is more whiskey or bourbon. That's trouble. Fabricio Verdum defeats Alexander Gustafsson. Again, speaking of overcorrecting the steering wheel, that was total perspective. Like, I was sensing myself into the breakdown, and then I go and do my line movement MMA betting show. Again, shout out to my co-host, Dan Levy, and his show over there with Shaq over at Half the Battle. I think they cashed on that Fabricio Verdum dog money, and I'm like, that's probably one of my more big regrets. I actually had a really good night betting and picks wise, but like I do regret passing on that though. I can't take any credit here for that one. I officially picked Gustafsson, albeit reluctantly, and I did say the money was on Verdum, but I can't take any credit for this one. I kicked myself in the butt for not playing it. But how about Verdum, huh? He's looking back in that Verboom era, right? I don't know. Was that motivation? That was it the defeat, or was it was it a doctor visit like somebody somebody surmised? Stephen Gregory, love the steering wheel analogy. Spot on. Thank you, sir. But yeah, man, Verdum wasn't the only person over 40 to get a win tonight. We'll get to him as well. Speaking of the Brazilian brethren, but grats to you, anybody who played Verdum. That was smart. I'm stupid for not. Carlos Barza defeated Marina Rodriguez via split decision, 29-28, 29-28, 30-27. I'm not kicking myself as hard as for going this one. Like, I'm not mad at Carlo winning. I had it for Carlo 29-28. I actually could have seen a draw if you scored round 2, 10-10. There could have been an argument for that there. And given that Marina Rodriguez has already earned 2 draws in her UFC tenure, maybe not that crazy. But I guess I'm just glad I stayed away because I picked Marina Rodriguez. I thought that she showed enough hints of improvement to carry over. And I thought Carla showed enough signs of a trend down that was worth the fade, minus the not playing and minus what the odds were. But you get what I'm saying. So that's why I picked against Carla. But like I said, I'd be happy if she proved me wrong. She did. And yeah, man, I know that was a popular one for a lot of people for Rodriguez. So hopefully that didn't hurt you all too much there, and you're still able to make your money elsewhere. Brad Taschuk, my tall Canadian son, Nushan, had that sub at plus 750. They grow up so fast. That is nice. Congrats on that, by the way. I did sprinkle the sub prop when it was plus 575, but again, I couldn't really tweet her. I can't butt my chest even at it now because again, my pick and stuff was I'm not doing revisionist history, but definitely congrats to Nushan. My tall brother to the north. Last Stand 001. Do you think Bobby Knuckles can get his black belt from Izzy? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, doesn't he have a coach? Yeah. If you're talking about a coach, because Robert Whittaker did shout out an Izzy on his team. He already got his black belt from Izzy. Do you think Bobby Knuckles can get his? Okay, I am stupid, but I guess I'm stupider than even I think. So I'm missing that joke. Robert Whittaker has a black belt already, but yeah, did he get his black? Oh, from Izzy. I get what you mean. A lesson taught. Perhaps, yeah, maybe that was in their game plan before. Like people, even though I didn't strongly, surmise or suspect it because you have to see the proven evidence. But yeah, I did cite like his coach in the Izzy breakdown as well as this breakdown about teasing the George St. Pierre teases. Perhaps that's why Robert Whittaker's coach was teaching it. And obviously he got emotional. We saw Robert Whittaker put himself in check after getting countered in the first. And then maybe he got to the original game plan, the adjustment that he failed to make in the Izzy fight. If that's what you mean, perhaps. The fight site, Marino was more patient than the Calvillo fight, which I liked. Yes, she was. In certain areas, no, though, like from the guard, that kind of urgency was upsetting. I feel like she was more urgent in certain spots, but in other spots, she wasn't. And she picks her spots at the right time. The classic, hopefully it's not Ed Gallo tweeting from that or messaging from that fight site thing, but the classic, Chad Mendes, Conor McGregor, right after the takedown work from Chad Mendes that he scored, Conor McGregor goes right to the body with front kicks. Not only does he put the pace on him after the wrestling is exerted and the grappler is trying to recover, you go to the body, Brad Taschuk, I've petitioned for more 10-10s over a decade. If you can't pick someone, don't. I don't hate that either. It just, the unfortunate caveat that always comes along with that is that fighter pay in that structure. Oh, Dan, the bourbon is kicking in. He asked if he could get the title back. Yeah, he asked if he could get the title back. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I can't read either. I am really bad. I got glasses and everything. They're clearly fraudulent. I don't know, man. There's that statistic of people that don't get their title back, and that's a tough one. Especially and again, you guys know I'm not somebody who condemns fighters for admitting having mental vulnerability or admitting that fights are stressful. I get that. I love Robert Whittaker as a fighter, as a person, and I don't discredit anybody who says that. But, my theory, these guys who have that are going to perform better, which was true with 1 out of 2. Dalby didn't do too great tonight. We'll get to him in a second. But less media and all these things, you think it would help those fights. But what did Robert Whittaker say? Oh, this was so stressful. Oh, man, this was, the relief that it was over. And that's fine, man. That's natural. You're not a weak person. I'm not throwing shade by any means as I shake my table there. But you do got to worry about that, right? You want that hungry, dead face Reaper Whittaker who's just pounding his chest. You know what I'm saying? By the way, Reaper totally sounds like a guy who has a 30-1 kill to death ratio in an FPS game, right? A Reaper, right? This guy could play. Reaper's in the game. Oh, fuck. I was looking to just have an easy game today, but Reaper's up here mopping up. All right, Dan, not everybody's a nerd like you. Next question. Felipe. What's up, Felipe? Thank you for the Chimaya video shout out, Dan. Love you. No worries. Thank you for your work, sir. Yeah, poor Ed. I love Ed. Izzy would destroy, Stephen Gregory says, Izzy would destroy Whittaker. Bobby was wanging overhands like Rousey and Gray Maynard all night, as he's done as a contender. I got to giggle at that, even though I kind of have a lineage and connection to both those fighters. But I appreciate the joke. Fight Site Dan picking up on references like Whittaker picking up on Izzy's hooks. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. That's another reason. Answer to your question about Izzy and Rob meeting again. Oh, yeah, Bear Jew hit. That was awesome. And last stand-up one. Yeah, we'll get to the Tanner Bozier, and I'll do it when we get to him here in a second. Yeah, let's get to the Bear Jew. Paul Craig defeated Gadzi Murad Antigulov. Props on the submission prop. I only got it at plus 170 by the time I put my article out. I didn't grab it at much more than that, but I don't want to grab even if it's a line that you grabbed early in the week and the article's not going to come out or be written till later. I'll try to adjust that to keep it kind of relative. As far as enticing people on plays. Not that I'm trying to entice people. You know what I mean? Keeping it honest and transparent. But yeah, man, congrats to anybody for whatever number you grabbed, because it was a plus number if you took Paul Craig by submission. Money line was playable. Unders were all that. Cash. Good on you. I just felt like all roads leaded to submission, so I just took the plus money there. Daniel Mays. Craig is one of the ultimate kill or tie action fighters. Yes, he was, and he was facing a less ultimate killer be killed guy in Antigulov. Sorry. I also we're doing a little more impressions now that I'm being captured on video, whereas if it's just the mic, I'll go, go a little more nuts. But don't worry, we got some Bozier coming for you. But yeah, grats to the I don't even want to say what the MMA analysis, shout out to that podcast, what they call it, because I always laugh and we'll go to like it and I'll be like, people are going to be like, what is he liking this Munich stuff? Is this some kind of anti-Semitic stuff? It looks like it's a Jewish guy who's saying it, Lance, but I don't know. So I'm always weary to shout that out, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Shout out to the MMA analysis podcast for that hit. Alex Oliveira defeated Peter Sobotka. If you're the Wire fan, as I tweeted out, or Peter Sabota, if we just want to be proper about it. Peter didn't look that great. I think he might have hurt himself somewhere in there, like maybe broke something on the durable Cowboy Oliveira. And the American broadcast, they cut to commercial. So if we didn't see in corner moments or we didn't catch any Cowboy doing any rope and grope, if he was able to, they still got officials in there, right? I don't know if any of them were female in there tonight, but you got You just got to be careful no matter what you are with Cowboy, all right? Jesus Christ. Dan Hardy versus Herb Dean, who you got? Oh, man, I saw a picture. Yeah. Dan Hardy getting up in it. I think part of it got caught up on the mic. Herb used to train, and Dan does look like he's catching up to his weight class. And as a Dan who's going up in the weight class, I'm not talking shit here, just saying. But obviously, I'm going to take Dan Hardy there. I always think of him as, this is Brad again, I always think of him as NHL defenseman Peter Svoboda. My hockey references are terrible. The only thing I'll say sometimes is if a fighter fights really dirty, I'll joke that, this guy fights so dirty that the Pittsburgh Penguins just called their manager to ask him if they could skate. All right, Brad, rope and grip is legend. Yeah, I can't take credit for it. That is all Cowboy Oliveira. That is not me for the rope and grip. So that is Cowboy Oliveira, and he has the pictures and video evidence and record from what I hear to prove it. All right, that's getting dark. But he looked good tonight otherwise. Let's keep it positive. Let's keep it positive here, folks. You look good tonight here otherwise. Daniel Mays, Evil Cowboy, make sure to take his two free fouls. Yeah, Evil Cowboy is going to get a call from the Pittsburgh Penguins, that's for sure. I think I might have put Cowboy in like a small parlay or something for fun, but like I didn't play anything official. So no chest bump in there, but Cowboy comes through. Hazmat Chimaev defeats Reese McKee, TKO strikes. Was that one called by Herb Dean as well? I can't remember, man. But Chimaev did work, and again, hopefully McKee gets a proper matchup because he can be in some fun fights if matched up correctly and offer more than he showed. And obviously, Hazmat, man, fucking hell. How is this guy going, right? Someone mentioned like Adolfo Vieira. I know that's a 185er, but for whatever reason, that's who I thought of too. For whatever reason, I really don't care who you put him against. I'm in no rush to rush the kid. I just want to see him fight. If you guys got any matchups, put it below. We'll shout them out. I'm going to keep pushing through, though. Now we can get to more of the Herb Dean stuff, as well as my last bet of the betting sheet official, which was Francisco Trinaldo defeating Jai Herbert via TKO strikes round 3. You know what? Herbert looked like he was on his way to being the first person to stop Francisco Trinaldo, which was not something that was mentioned enough in the lead up to this, no matter what angle you were taking or who you were supporting. And that was huge. And Herbert deserves credit for it. And I want to see Herbert come and develop those skills. However, one, I still don't agree with the line movement. I still don't see why, as I went over on my breakdown podcast, I literally checked through almost all the boxes, minus age, but even put a strong, legitimate, realistic tilt on that as to why Trinaldo outchecks the boxes here. And I don't agree with it. Number 2, the stoppage was god-awful. And it was so bad that the reason why I was upset is because I do want to see guys like Jai Herbert come back to fight, be able to say their grandkids' names. You know what I'm saying? The dude was clearly out. It was like a Josh Emmett, Michael Johnson, like stiff in the air as they go down KO. Like, you don't really need to be like, oh, I saw it in his eyes. He was out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, Big John, why did you stop at Diaz and Daly? That was like the best fight in the world at 1 second to go. But you see the replay and you see Big John is keyed in on Daly's eyes and you see Daly's reaction. It wasn't like that, the door wasn't open for that type of scenario. Like, that was just bad. And I always feel bad by saying like ground strikes are the common scenario where Herb has trouble with stoppages, because ground strikes is where 90% of stoppages end up. If they're not a submission. But, whether you look at that girl, Jessica Birch, who never fought again, Cynthia Calvillo in RKO, just like brutalized her for like one round. It was pretty much the Weidman Rockhold of female fights. But it was a regional show, so nobody references it. That was Herb Dean. Now, speaking of Weidman Rockhold, that was Herb Dean. And the worst one, which almost got beat, the king of bad stoppages almost got put off. I think me and Aaron Bronstetter, I think it was, recently did it, and we either unanimously came to this number 1, or it was like 1 and 2, and it was CB Dalloway versus Mertzalayev, where Mertzalayev pretty much had Dalloway was just pounding him for a round, and it was just gross. Like, Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the heck Herb was thinking, man. Like I've seen Herb at shows. I know people who know him, interacted with him a lot more than I have. My very brief interactions on or off the clock at a show, even, have all been great. But you got to call it out. And kind of like my dude Case Hearts was saying on Twitter, is like you need accountability. And I think that, not trying to get political here, folks, it's not that show, but whether we're talking about like serious issues, like, what to do with police reform or what to do with MMA judging, I think the common thread there is accountability. I think we can all agree that accountability is a good thing. So I'm not saying let's all pick up our torches and go to, on a witch hunt, but yeah, I think we need some accountability, man. All right. All right. Make Nate Diaz fight him. Yeah. Jeez. Oh, Hazmat? Oh, geez. Oh, no way. Let's see. Steve Gregory. Cowboy is an alley cat. Dude has so many kids born on the other sides of the sheets, as the Royals used to say. Jesus. Yeah, man. Cowboy is he's been at it for quite some time. He's got a lot of stories. Yeah, Dean has had a bad history of this, unfortunately. Philippe says, I agree. It's the inconsistency too, Daniel May says. We get one GDR/lad, then 2 simulated murders. Again, back to what I said earlier about all the things to tackle wrong with MMA judging or our judging system. It comes down to consistency. We need consistency of the officials. Whatever rule set we agree on or officials we agree on to hold these positions, consistency is the key word that's just got to be done first. Otherwise, it's going to breed, it's going to breed a bunch of different understanding. Muna says, sorry. Consistency too. Felipe, I like Beltran a lot. I do. I like Beltran as well. Mike Beltran. They used to be like an undercover cop. He speaks Spanish and everything. Like he used to be on like the drug, like on the drug beat. Daniel Mays, it's the inconsistency too. Muna says, I disagree with it being a bad stoppage. 1, a fighter has to keep going until the ref stops. 2, Herbert was stunned, but the one arm was up and the other was covering his face, but just my opinion. If you got that look, Muna, from an angle, then maybe Herb got a similar look, albeit not my look and many others. So, again, I don't know what Herb was seeing, and maybe if he was seeing more what you were seeing, maybe that was it. But I got to go back and rewatch it. That just wasn't what I saw. But hey, man, it's just your opinion, man. You're totally welcome to have that, my friend. Miss you too. Last Stand 001. Hazmat went from less than 200 followers to now 12K on Twitter. Wow, that's a big jump. Felipe, talking about accountability, I wish the judges would have to answer questions in the press conference where there is controversial scorecards. I like that better than open scoring. And that's not to say that I'm against open scoring, by the way. I just don't like it is because we'll get judges correcting their steering wheel disingenuously. And, if we got a bunch of bad judges, then there's going to be the blind leading the blind. So I don't like that factor of it. Not that I'm against open scoring. I would rather have what Philippe said, some type of after the fact meeting, at the very least, accountability. And then Brad, his arm bounced up from the impact of the canvas. You can tell when Trinaldo goes to move his arm, and there's no resistance. Yeah, I saw kind of that zombie arm too. That's what I actually can recall myself. All right. Next result, Jesse Ronson. Speaking of Canada's doing pretty well. If Aaron Bronstetter didn't already, he'd be the guy. But someone should tally up from the Apex shows, just like pandemic era. I think Canada's done really well. They broke the Apex curse, and they got to be on a winning record, which is probably rare in recent years, right? Because I know Canada hasn't had the best track record late. See the GSP days. Ronson, though, he was live. I believe it was a check right hook. Don't leave home without it, southpaw. It's a real important strike to have. Because even if you're more of a come forward fighter than a counter fighter, which is part of the reason why I picked Dalby over Ronson, those right hooks are going to come in handy. And then finished him on the ground, man. So even though I'm a big fan of Dalby, you got to feel, I miss some of the post-fight antics that was getting Twitter stirred up. But I feel for anybody who pays their dues. And like my co-host Dan said, man, Ronson paid his dues. So Good on you. All right. Tom Aspen Hall defeated Jake Collier. As I may or may not have said in a DM to somebody privately, it's like Fat Jake Collier versus Fat Darren Till. But they both ended up. Someone pointed it to me. They look like Alexi Keemer and Frank Mir. And for you real inside MMA people who know MMA circles, it looked like my man over there, Danny Brenner from Bellator. I had a love child with Frank Mir for Tom Aspen Hall. But either way, whatever the combination was, you got it done pretty fast. That was rough to watch, man. Boy, man, like I look at myself in the mirror, and I look at when I was cutting weight for amateur fights or grappling tournaments, and I'll be like, man, you really let yourself go, Dan. But man, that was just that probably wasn't too healthy though, because I feel like when a guy cuts weight, usually you're like, oh, they can't take shots as well. At least he's gonna be able to take shots better. No, man, that was really a bunch of bad weight to put on, and that probably didn't do much well, health wise. And I don't know what Collier was trying to do, just get a paycheck or what, but hopefully he's all right. Next fight. Let me see this here. Not to get destroyed. Not to get destroyed by the media, but to hear them explaining the scorecards. Which scorecards was that? Yeah, I mean, who is a good, speaking of media and scoring, shout out to Sean Sheehan. I'll try to retweet his podcast with, what was that judge he did it with? Was it Ben Cartilage? Cartilage? I forget, but Sean's a good guy when it comes to scoring as far as media guys. I'm admittedly not the best myself. Look at me. I'm having a drink and stuff. Don't trust me, folks. Don't trust anything I say. Brad Tashchuk, Canadian Arab Emirates. Aaron and I have trademarked this. Okay. See what I mean? Canadians are already on it. Felipe Ronson looked very good. Dalby's entries in the pocket were not good, though. No. He always gets countered early, too. I just wasn't sure if the lightweight moving up to welterweight was going to have enough pop, although Ronson is not that small of a welterweight. I don't think. He's a thick-set guy. Fight Site just makes you think, how good is Nikolai Alexshakin? Yeah, man, Nikolai got on my radar when he fought Ben Askren, of course, over and won. And he probably came up on a lot of your guys' tape study if you watched that PFL fight with Ronson. Catfish Collier coming to a megaton division near you. Hey, speaking on putting on weight, you hear Masa Randuba wants to go up to welterweight, and he's going to get bigger than ever. I'm like, well, again, shout out to the MMA analysis for this reference or joke here, but it's going to be Magma Randuba. It sounds like for the next his next appearance, maybe. Let's leave it at that. All right, I got love for Masa Randuba. Masvar Evilo defeated Mike Grundy, unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. Yeah, I mean, I had no issue with the 30-27 there. Although you could give Grundy the first round, but my bias always reads on momentum over action sometimes. Not that it should be scored that way, but clearly Evloev had the momentum going in to the rest of the fight after Grundy expended that energy. Man, just again, when you, like I was tweeting about, and this was kind of my read on possibly the first fight, which is me, first fight for Cormier Stipe. I picked Cormier, but by decision. I didn't see him knocking them out. I just saw him wrestling down the stretch and eventually tiring and winning out exchanges. Because a lot of times it doesn't matter so much if one guy's better than the other. If they're both good enough to tread water as grapplers, wrestlers, MMA grappler, wrestlers, scramblers, however you want to classify it. If they're both good enough to tread water, it's not necessarily the bigger guy, even if he has slightly more credentials on paper, like Grundy did, who's going to win out. Because if they can tread water, the smaller guy is going to be probably, at least, be more adept to scrambling. And in the long run, the big picture, we're going to see him pull away down the stretch. And as I had a coach once tell me, scrambles win fights. So that's what we saw. Evloev was playing the long game as he keeps my hopes alive for him to turn into, Russian 5.0 Frankie Edgar at featherweight. We'll see. Does a lot of awesome stuff like technical details, pinning not just the 2-on-1 grip, but pinning it to the mat to give you that leverage to circle away without getting your back taken when I said ass over tea kettle in my tweet, that means falling over the top. When guys try to take Derek Lewis's back, Derek Lewis tripod so slanted, guys fall off the front. That's going ass over tea kettle. For those wondering what that reference was all about. So yeah, good on Evloev there, man. I'm happy to see him at 45. I haven't been expecting him to go down, and definitely don't after this. Tanner Bozier, guy got enough room in my voice to hit a Tanner Hedgehog Yerka. IFL spirit animal himself defeats Rafael Pessoa by TKO via strikes. How about we got to see Pessoa versus the Jamaican Shamrock who opened that Bellator card? I mean, would that not be the weirdest fight ever? The weirdest looking fight? Like, you could take Rafael Pessoa versus the Jamaican Shamrock, and you could put a hologram version of that fight on Chewie's board in Star Wars: A New Hope when him versus Luke go to play each other, and no one would catch that Easter egg. Nothing would skip a beat. You wouldn't even go right over your head. Jesus Christ. I'm just saying those guys are pretty monstrous, okay? Jesus, Dan, you get your ass kicked by these guys when they see you. And Tanner Bozier, even though I keep picking him, will probably want to kick my ass for all the Tanner Boziers. But yeah, man, the guy can move, and he is proving, a size thing that really should have been apparent to us from the Cain Velasquez days that yeah, guys, size isn't everything at heavyweight. There's a lot of bad athletes and a lot of water finds its own level, and the level isn't the highest, we'll just say sometimes. And I'm not trying to pick on heavyweights. I had a lot of heavyweights I love. You know what I'm saying? And just saying what it is. So happy for Tanner Bozier there. Even though it wasn't an official offering, I did put him for my official, no, not my official offering. I did put him for a parlay piece recommendation. Steve Montgomery, Ben Cartledge posts pics of his dogs in the middle of my Twitter threads with no context. Someone needs to check his hard drives. You know what? I fear the day when they check a lot of people's hard drives. I'm just kidding. What was that? What was that movie? What's it called? Yeah, you're right. Are you trying to say, Stephen Gregory, that he is what's Patrick Swayze's character in Donnie Darko, right? He's supposed to be the self-help guy, he's supposed to be a pride member of the community, and you be careful, man. And as we know, you don't want to dig too deep in people in the MMA community. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is usually doesn't end good. Let's keep our heroes, yeah. Kazma, future champ. Please pick on the heavyweights. The fight side, of course, is going to approve on my picking on heavyweights. That would that would be their MO. It's also why I love them. Pani Kianzad defeated Betch Kohea via unanimous decision. I think I ended up sprinkling Degenerate on this, but I didn't play it. I'm not going to front. Congrats if you did. Although I did pick Pani Kianzad for her aggression boxing ability, if she wasn't going to get bullied by Betch, which wasn't the case, but blessed Betch, I think she's going to be 38 this year, and she's just still a durable tank. Ramzan Ameev, least athletic single legs, according to my man Ryan Wagner. Unathletic dadding. I saw a lot of these things being thrown around, but you know what? In Ameev's defense, for underwhelming as he and his style is, dadding is the appropriate approach when it comes to a Spitfire, fresh-faced Spitfire like Nicholas Stolze. Shout out, by the way, to and Connor for now plaguing my mind with dad analysis. I have to see such things as I break down the fight and seeing how prevalent it is in our sport, especially the higher weight classes. But Ameev did what he needed to do without, albeit some very brief scares. I don't think I had it 30-27, but kind of like I tweeted, that's kind of the one consistent trend that we've seen go through all the way through, is if you're a Russian or Caucasus fighter or a surrounding region fighter with the OV or the OV or V last name, you're getting yourself a 30-27 in your Happy Meal. You're not leaving Fight Island without a 30-27 in your Happy Meal. They're just going to pop it right in there and send you on your way. So good on Ameev. And Nathaniel Wood defeated John Castaneda via unanimous decision. Castaneda perhaps didn't wrestle as much because he was worried about his gas tank, the D2 wrestler there, but it at least allowed, he hung tough though, and allowed Nathaniel Wood to put on a good show and some excellent skills. Excited to watch that. Nathaniel Wood was doing some stuff that reminded me of Poirier with the way he was shifting, although being caught on those shifts, but the variation and shifting, or the variation and rhythm and speed changes to accompany said shifts is what I did like, though, from Nathaniel Wood. And I hope they give John Castaneda a full shot at it so they can go through. Jesus, is 45 minutes. That wraps it up. Going to wrap up your questions before we get out of here. Any last ones, get it in now or forever hold your peace. Thank you for sitting through this nonsense. Pick on the heavyweights, Philippe, except for Hunto. Yes, indeed. Betch mistaking the top 10-second clap with the bell was hilarious. Yeah, that was bad. That was like Spark Carlisle, Philippe. Or as I referenced, because me and my timely references, comparing Cowboy Oliveira to the bad guy in Greece on my podcast to, bringing up Usamar Palhares versus Dan Miller, because that's relevant. But yeah, Betchko Hea following suit there. Ramzov Mead from the fight site, Brad Taschuk. Nathaniel Wood fought on this card. That was like 18 hours ago. I know, it's insane. 15 fight card. And like I reverse jinxed it, so the production should be thanking me. But when we got to 3 decisions in a row, I was like, shit, is this thing going to go over? This is crazy. All right, we're going to get out of here. I just want to give a shout. I forgot to give to the Sound of Violence podcast. Speaking of YouTube presences, podcasts, MMA, live shows, I just want to give a shout out to those guys. Of course, shout out to everybody over at Line Movement, everybody behind the scenes, Nick, Dan, Joe, everyone. Everyone at Junkie, everyone, of course, here in this chat and that listen to me for whatever reason on the Protect Nick podcast. Give a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel. I've got like a measly 192 subscribers or something. Like, let's get me over 200 or something. I don't know. We'll get there. We'll get there, folks. And yeah, positive likes, reviews if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. Appreciate you guys. Going to have my normal content coming out next week. Nothing much else to say, man. Just happy to be here. And happy you guys are here because it's still crazy times, right? All right. Betch punching herself against Renault is even better. Be well, Dan. Danish Khan, my man. You be well, too. All right, guys. Take it easy. Have a good night. Get some rest. And always protect your neck.